The bright studio lights shimmered across the stage as the audience settled into their seats for another live taping of The View. Producers moved quickly behind the cameras, while assistants whispered final instructions through headsets. Everything felt normal at first. The hosts laughed together during the opening segment, and the crowd responded with cheerful applause. Nobody expected the atmosphere to change so suddenly. When Dwayne Johnson walked onto the stage, the audience erupted with excitement. He smiled warmly, shaking hands with the hosts before taking his seat. His calm confidence immediately filled the studio. Wearing a dark navy suit with a light gray shirt underneath, he looked relaxed and ready for a friendly interview. At first, the conversation moved smoothly. The host asked about his latest movie projects, fitness routine, and charitable work. Dwayne answered with humor and patience, making the audience laugh several times. Even the production crew behind the cameras seemed relaxed as the segment unfolded. Then the mood shifted. Joy Behar leaned forward in her chair, her expression suddenly more serious. She glanced toward the audience before turning back to Dwayne. "There are some people," she began carefully, "who believe celebrities use their influence to avoid difficult questions while presenting themselves as heroes." The room became quieter. Dwayne's smile faded slightly, though he remained calm. "I'm not sure what you mean," he replied politely. Joy continued speaking, her tone sharper now. "Some critics say public figures carefully build an image that hides who they really are. They think audiences are tired of being manipulated." A few audience members exchanged nervous glances. The other hosts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The energy inside the studio changed instantly. Dwayne folded his hands together, listening carefully before answering. "I've always tried to be honest with people," he said steadily. "I'm not perfect, but I work hard, and I try to treat others with respect." For a moment, it seemed the tension might ease. But Joy pressed further. "What about accusations that celebrities only speak out on issues when it benefits their careers?" she asked. "Isn't that performative?" A low murmur spread through the audience. One producer near the stage signaled nervously toward another crew member. Cameras continued rolling while everyone waited for Dwayne's response. He paused before speaking again. "I think people can disagree without assuming the worst about each other," he said. "Not everything has to become hostile." The crowd applauded softly, but Joy interrupted before the applause fully ended. "Hostile? Or truthful?" she fired back. The studio suddenly felt tense enough to freeze the air itself. The other hosts attempted to redirect the discussion, but the moment had already spiraled. Dwayne remained composed, though his expression clearly showed disappointment. "I came here to have a conversation," he said calmly, "not to sit through personal accusations." Joy crossed her arms. If public figures can't handle tough questions, maybe they shouldn't expect praise all the time. Several audience members gasped quietly. One camera operator briefly looked away from the stage, sensing how uncomfortable the situation had become. Dwayne nodded slowly as if making a decision in his mind. "You know," he said quietly, "there's a difference between tough questions and unnecessary disrespect." The room fell silent. Even the hosts sitting beside Joy appeared unsure how to react. One producer could be seen speaking urgently into a headset near the back of the studio. Dwayne stood from his chair. At first, the audience thought it might be part of the segment, but then he adjusted his jacket and stepped away from the table. Gasps echoed through the crowd as people realized he was actually leaving. One host reached toward him. "Dwayne, wait." But he stopped briefly and turned back. "I've spent years trying to inspire people," he said firmly. "I believe conversations should bring understanding, not division. I respect everyone here, but I won't stay where respect disappears." The audience erupted into mixed reactions. Some applauded loudly while others sat frozen in shock. The producers looked panicked as the live broadcast continued without a clear plan. Joy remained seated, though her expression hardened. "Walking away doesn't answer the questions," she said toward him. Dwayne looked back calmly. "Sometimes walking away is the answer." With that, he walked off the stage. The studio remained painfully quiet for several seconds after he disappeared backstage. The remaining hosts tried to recover, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Audience members whispered among themselves, while producers scrambled behind the cameras. Backstage, crew members watched monitors in disbelief. Some employees later described the moment as one of the most uncomfortable live television exchanges they had ever witnessed. Meanwhile, social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the confrontation spread rapidly online. Fans debated whether Joy had crossed a line or whether celebrities should always face difficult criticism publicly. Hashtags connected to both Dwayne Johnson and Joy Behar began, trending across multiple platforms before the episode had even finished airing. Outside the studio, photographers waited near the exit hoping to capture Dwayne leaving the building. When he finally emerged, he paused only briefly. One reporter shouted, "Do you regret walking off the show?" Dwayne stopped for a second, looking directly toward the cameras. "No," he answered simply. "Everyone deserves respect." Then he stepped into a waiting vehicle and drove away, while reporters continued shouting questions behind him. Back inside the studio, the hosts attempted to finish the episode, but the energy never recovered. Even audience members leaving afterward could still be heard discussing the confrontation in the hallways. By the end of the night, millions of viewers online were arguing over what had really happened. Some praised Dwayne for staying calm under pressure. Others defended Joy's right to challenge powerful celebrities, but nearly everyone agreed on one thing. Nobody watching that live broadcast would forget the moment. Dwayne Johnson silently stood up, looked around the studio one final time, and walked away from the view while the entire room sat in stunned silence.